Hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Innovate Your Hiring Strategy. And I'm Serap Zel from Uplift. It's great to have you all here because we will be talking about really interesting trends and data and technology-driven recruitment today. I would like to welcome our dear guest, Javeed Khan, a passionate leader in the talent acquisition space with extensive experience in global companies such as IBM, MasterCard, KPMG. Javeed, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It is amazing to be here, actually, Serap. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, of course. Could you briefly introduce yourself, Javeed, to initiate our conversation, a little bit about your background in talent acquisition?
Oh, I'd love that. So you gave me my name. My full name is Javeed Ashraf Khan. I've been a talent acquisition person for, I think, the last 20 years. You know, my wife sometimes says, Serap, that you're a better recruiter than a husband. So I take it. It's just that you hired and recruited so many over the last 20 years. It just becomes a part of you, right?
Yes.
But I have been doing this out of a sheer passion. I don't just recruit people. You know, my philosophy and ideology is that you build organizations through talent acquisition, you build workforce through talent acquisition, and that's what I have been working on. Getting an organization with future ready teams is how I keep thinking and keep bringing in the talent that any organization that I've worked for is what I've done. Yeah, I've been doing this for a very long time. Yeah, I've been a TA, top talent acquisition voice of LinkedIn. I got top 50 HR influencers on Middle East, and I think being in the top 50 HR really validated the great work that we bring for our organizations. My aim is really redefining the talent acquisition because I believe that recruiters and talent acquisition leaders are still operating as we are in 2010, but we are actually in 2025, and we've got to start thinking differently because there's so much change that's coming in, not just from a technology, but even from a workforce perspective. So we've got to start thinking differently. So that's a little me. What am I doing right now? I was a director of talent acquisition till about last Monday. I'm taking a little break. I'm going to be joining the new place in March. But that's what it is. But I am going to continue to be in the talent acquisition and the talent space, and that's what I am right now.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Javeed. And such an exciting journey. And when I met Javeed for the first time, I really felt the energy, passion in this field. That's also, it uplifted me as well. So thanks a lot for coming. And also, before we kick off, I would like to remind to our listeners, so you can interact with us through the chat box. You can write your questions or comments. I'll make sure that we cover them. Or if you are watching us on LinkedIn Live, you can put your comments and questions in the comment section. So let's kick off, Javeed. So we will talk a little bit about this, the data-driven mindset on talent acquisition. As you rightly mentioned, things are evolving so fast in the business world, and recruitment, I mean, in general, in HR, of course, there is a big transformation happening in all companies to keep up the pace. But at the same time, the recruitment part is the part that we have a lot of data points. We can really drive this function with data-driven mindset. But at the same time, many companies struggle to define which data metrics, indicators are the right ones to make the right hiring and people decisions, and at the end, business decisions. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about this data-driven mindset first, and then what do you suggest about these key indicators that we need to use?
100%. And I think without data, it's going to be difficult, right? But let me start with a little bit of a background. See, the world has been changing. The way we recruit has been changing, but we as talent acquisition has been, you know, we've been only measuring the wrong thing over the years. Now we got to start focusing on quality and impact rather than actually the numbers. Now let me give you an example. Like, for example, we all are very, very happy about time to hire. Now, I don't understand the impact time to hire brings, because if you take time to hire like 45 days to hire somebody versus 100 days, I don't know if the business leaders are actually valuing the time to hire. And I'm giving you just one example of that, right? But I think we need to start focusing on how is the time to hire or the impact of the hire when we bring them into an organization is helping. So how is the candidate performing either between 0 to 6 months or 0 to 12 months is going to be a great KPI rather than looking at time to hire, right? Now, it doesn't matter if you bring somebody in 45 days. Well, it does, but then not most often, because at the bottom line, what you need to see is how are you making an impact to the revenue of the organization, and not just a metric to put in, because what you're trying to say is a narrative which you want to tell, but actually is not making any impact. Similarly, I've got 85% acceptance rate. Now, that is a great story, but why is the 15% not accepting is also a story that you want to deep dive into to find out how can you definitely look at changing that, right? So I think we need to start finding the KPIs which are more relevant to business, more relevant to revenue-driven decision-making process, rather than just hiring or using a metric what we can actually find and kind of manipulate a narrative. We don't want to do that. We want to be relevant to the organization.
Yeah.
With this, right, everybody keeps saying, Javeed, you know, talent acquisition is more like a cost center. They don't treat us like a business partner. And my only story to everybody, or my narrative, is why don't you start talking the language of the business? Start talking the language of the CFO, or start talking to the language of the business leaders in terms of impact your hiring team is making to the organization. Then automatically the partnership will start to take a new direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if we speak the business language with the data, and like every business leader, we tell that they should know their numbers, and as HR or talent acquisition leaders, we should know our numbers too. And that's a very good example that you shared. And as well as I think with the data on our hand, we can really look for different perspectives as well. For example, hiring teams effectiveness, we can look like if they are selecting the right profiles or not, which interviewer has the best selection capability, let's say, right? So I mean, there can be many different options that we can look.
Oh, 100%, Sarah, because if I look at it, I have looked at data like, where are we seeing the disengagement of candidate at what process?
Yeah.
Now, the disengagement of the process could give us a lot of storytelling in terms of where are you going, or what are you doing wrong. So that's one metric that we recently have developed and started using, is the disengagement of the candidate. Now, I spoke about the offer acceptance. I also want to be able to go back and say, collect feedback, testimonials, net promoter scores from candidates after you've gone through the process and not gone through the process. So selected and rejected, it will give you an understanding of how things are. Rather than saying how many interviews did one interviewer conduct, sit down with them and play back the interviews that they have conducted. So that means when they hear them and listen to themselves, when it's getting played back, it'll open up a different conversation of whether I am biased, I'm not biased, am I doing it right, how am I getting perceived by candidates while I am on a Zoom call or a Teams call, and so on and so forth, right? Yeah. You've got to start getting innovative on these aspects of KPIs, and data is available. Data is so much more available, and I think talent acquisition is the one HR vertical which is quantifiable at every stage, starting from how many applications you've got and whatnot, right? But how are you going to use it is not, is going to be the game changer for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. That's why as talent acquisition leaders, we should have that analytical skills and big data maybe mindset as well to analyze the data. And you mentioned a little bit about the candidate experience. I know you are passionate on the improving candidate experience. So in today's world, I mean, we focus a lot on experience, on everything, right? So it can be the form of user experience, customer experience, employee experience. And in our world, the candidate experience is important. So even the research shows that 60% of candidates abandon applications due to the complex processes. When they see that lots of details to fill, they give up. So we are losing them at that point. So Javeed, based on your experience so far, like why is this candidate experience such a critical factor in our world? Because sometimes business leaders say that, oh, there are many candidates out there, you know, we can select one. But like, how do you see this challenge?
See, and you hit that right very well. Like, definitely we are in a very employer-driven market, but even with an employer-driven market, how are you going to drive the traffic to come to your organization, and what kind of traffic are you driving to the organization is going to be the game changer. Now, why do I say that? Now, in our type of world, Serap, we've got two type of candidates. One is a shouting candidate who's always shouting, I want to apply for everything and everything. And then there are those whispering candidates who are sitting on the sidelines and looking at what's happening. And those are the candidates that I want to go after, or my firm wants to go after, and so on and so forth, because they bring the right value, because they're not just job changers, but they're actually career seekers. And we want those kind of career seekers to come and work for us. Employer branding is a very hidden metric, or is a very hidden agenda item. Now, the employer branding is not the vision and the mission statements of an organization, but it is how you show up to a job every day, or to your office every day. Now, how do you take this and showcase to the external world? Is by displaying those values and principles in the way that you are attracting the acquisition or talent or interviewing and so on and so forth, right? CX is so important for us, because even though if you don't hire the candidate, you want that candidate to go back and tell them, listen, I went through a process, though I didn't get selected, I was valued at every step of the way. I was shown interest in every step of the way. So if you're looking at a career change, you might want to apply. Then we have this something called the job descriptions. Now, I have seen job descriptions which are 2 pages, 3 pages long, and they lose the essence of it at a certain point of time. But what we don't understand is we just put the same kind of job description for every job role that is out there.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. See, the way you need to look at the whole candidate experience is right there. So when you are trying to hire a fresh graduate, or maybe say somebody who is in the 2 to 3 years experience category, the need of that candidate is so much more different than a baby boomer who's been in a job for 40 years or 20 years or so on and so forth, right? So how can the job description be the same thing? Right? We've got to go back and start looking at candidate experience there. How am I being perceived from that perspective onwards to a journey which is till the end of onboarding? We got to make sure that there are hyper personalization of that candidate, and not just one size fits all, but also to a fact that we are talking relevant items. That is how you're going to start measuring candidate experience, and giving them feedback is very important. Not ghosting is going to be the game changer in 2025 and beyond.
Indeed, yeah. As Uplift as well, we provide feedback to each application after the process is completed. And initially, you know, our messages are not like automated. I mean, is automated, but the people can reply back. You know, it's not going from no reply at something. So you can't believe, Javeed, that people are appreciating a lot those negative messages that we send. I mean, we say that you are not selected, but we receive a lot of thank you messages from them that, oh, thanks for providing this feedback. At least, you know, I know that I'm not selected. Of course, it's a disappointing message, but it's a feedback, as you mentioned, that people really deserve to hear. So I think so maybe these are the nuances that are not really seen on the scene, but it's at the background. We can see the making a difference.
Game changer. And I'm not saying that every recruiter needs to take out 2 or 3 hours every day to do this. You can use AI and technology to go back and do this. Now, this is the automated task which you can definitely, and you don't even again need to do this only in the text format. You can even do it in a callback. There are conversational bots which are so human-like, will call the candidate. All you need to do is a couple of buttons press, and the candidate will get a call saying, hey, I'm so-and-so. I just wanted to call you and thank you for your application, and we have just going through this process, and we will come back to you, or you couldn't make it, but keep applying. Whatever the script is, you can design the script, make it really empathetical, and the bot is going to do this so that the recruiter then takes their time and puts it in the real value addition.
That's That's really great. Yeah, that could actually bring us to the second topic that we'll talk a little bit about the AI. And of course, AI is a game changer for every part of the business, including recruitment. It helps from resume screening to candidate matching and even some of the repetitive tasks that we do. So especially, AI brings efficiency. We all talk about it, but recruitment is still like a bit human and people function as well, people first function. So how do you see that AI is transforming and where we should use? I mean, especially, is it good for every company to use it, or should we prioritize in certain areas?
So I'm a big AI technology for recruitment evangelist. I am the ambassador of AI. I have been doing a lot of master classes and I have been teaching recruiters and what they can use, because the conversation is no longer how AI is going to disrupt. It is already here and we've got to start using it, right? So that's my opening statement. But that said, the human decision-making process in recruitment is not going to go away, right? And we don't want it to go away. Yeah. We don't want the next best CEO to be hired by the AI, but we just want it to be finding us the best CEO, right? So I'll explain, right? But that's my opening statement on the AI. Technology is going to help us find the balance and help us find a balance for the mundane tasks that we don't want to do as recruiters and help us get better in efficiency. And that is what my opening lines. And it is one of the most crowded markets at this point of time in AI, because I think everybody and anybody is building the AI for solving a problem for recruiting candidates. And you're very right, Serap. I think smart talent matching or the parsing of candidates or the resumes, that's use case number one. Workflow automation, that is, how will the workflow of the candidate happen from the resume application till the end? The workflow automation could be a case number two. Screening could be case three, and maybe even scheduling. But right after that, you definitely need the candidate or the recruiter to then have that one-on-one conversation, then pick it up from there. I don't think we are yet ready for interviews to be automated. I don't think we are yet ready for the offers and the onboarding to be. They are hyper-personalized, and we definitely need the human touch to happen at that point of time. And I don't think AI is definitely helping us build any relationships, right? But what I want to also say is, most of the time when you look at AI and a conversation that is happening in any organization out there about AI, everybody is like, what do I use? But I would say, no, that's the wrong start of what you want to use. Rather, let's start to use the thinking of, hey, what's the problem that I want to solve with AI?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Do I want to solve the problem of screening, scheduling, shortlisting, or do I want something else completely? So you got to go back, sit down with your recruiters and says, guys, let's look at what are you going through, what is giving you nightmares and sleepless nights. Let's use AI to solve that problem rather than just bringing something and implementing it. That's step one, right? And that's definitely a question that you want to start with. AI is going to be only that effective because whatever you code it in, however you're going to implement it, it's going to run its course. Now, if your processes are flawed, then you have an AI flawed process that is going to work for you as well. So first ask the question to your recruiters of what I want to solve, then build a process around it, then find the technology, and then do the change management. This is a life cycle I want any talent acquisition leader or a recruiter to follow. Then this is going to work for you and not against you. Yeah. But if you just take something off the shelf and like everybody's using it, I want to use it, it's not going to do the magic that you're looking for.
Exactly. No, I think that's a wise advice. And also every market is different, right? So, I mean, maybe AI is needed for certain markets more where you get lots of applications like in Middle East. Maybe you don't receive that many applications in Europe or other US, for example, or depending on the level of the positions, you are receiving a lot of applications for the lower level jobs, entry-level jobs, but not for the executive search. So you need to decide where you need to use AI to increase your efficiency efficiency.
100%.
But I totally agree on the sourcing part, like finding the resumes from different platforms. We came across one of the AI tools recently, and they are screening more than 30 different internet sources, including meetup directories and all those like outside, thinking out of the box, and not only the LinkedIn job boards, but all the other alternatives, especially for the tech roles. It screens GitHub, GitLab, Stack Overflow, the other websites which are valuable for us to check candidates. It brings the candidates. So it really helps us to find some relevant candidates. Because sometimes LinkedIn doesn't work all the time, right? For all the positions.
Yeah, see, LinkedIn is good for a little bit of a way of how you bring sourcing into it. I have seen tools, I have tested them out in my free time, like a demo and use. I have seen tools which is going to, you just put in a keyword, say for example, you're looking for management consultant. All you need to do is just put in management consultant and the location that you're looking to hire. It's going to do exactly what you want to do and bring up everything. And there's also, like, for example, then you say management consulting, I want to only hire from my competition like PwC, EY or Deloitte. Then it is going to bring up exactly that and then give you talent insights of those organizations to help you. And then there are tools which will find you a candidate within 4 hours with email ID and telephone number. Now you don't have to wait and write an email and wait forever to find the right candidate. Now you can ask the AI to find the telephone number and email within 4 hours.
Yeah.
So sourcing is going to be definitely insight-based sourcing rather than just a Boolean search. No more that 2 kilometers long Booleans are going to be used anymore.
Yes, that really resonated to me. Yeah, and also I would like to ask our listeners, if you use AI in recruitment in some part of the processes, feel free to share your opinions and your best practices and where you use in the chat box so everyone can see and learn. Okay, so I would like to move, Javeed, to the next part is about generational differences. We touched a little bit about this new generation, but especially for the Gen Z, of course, everyone has a Gen Z agenda at some point. So I look at some of the researchers and it says that Gen Z has little patience for outdated recruiting technology. Based on their global research, they found that 46% of them have applied for a job on their mobile device. So the companies should be having these systems mobile friendly. And as well as 54% won't complete an application if that recruiting methods or forms are outdated. So we are losing half of the Gen Z candidates if we don't use like high technology. 76% of Gen Z job seekers consider diversity inclusion very important in selecting the right employer. And as well as the flexibility, we all know this. So 73% of them mentioned that they are looking for flexible work options, maybe not fully remote, but at least some sort of flexibility in the workplace. So especially from this perspective, as you work with this Gen Z candidates and hiring for those roles, not only for Gen Z, but also like a comparison based on the generations, how do you see the attraction point of view? Like, how can we attract different generations? So should we have separate strategy for each? So how is your experience on this?
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is a very, very important topic for all of us who are in that business of attracting and bringing talent to an organization. And we need to understand Gen Z is what we are talking about. A few years down the line, we're going to have a new workforce coming in. And a few years down the line, we're going to have a new workforce coming in. So I was just making a joke to somebody is that by end of 2030, we're going to have 6 generations of actual workforce working for us in an organization, starting from baby boomers, going up all the way till Gen Alpha and everything else. But we're also going to have bots, so 7 generations, right? So we don't know if the bots are going to be considered workforce, but yeah, it is what it is. But coming back to the question, right? Gen Zs are looking for purpose and flexibility. They don't want a job, they want a mission. How am I going to be able to contribute? They are those people who basically are looking for, I want a career where I can contribute. I'm on a mission. Like, it's like, for them, it's like climbing Mount Everest at any given point of time and on every project right now, right? They want that mission. Now, millennials are looking for growth and learning because they are in that center stage of, hey, what am I going to do with my career? Where am I heading? And then you've got some baby boomers and some Gen Zs left in every organization who are basically looking at stability and leadership. Now, you've got this base ideas of different generations. Now you need to have an operating model. Don't have a strategy, but at least an operating model on how you want to operate for different generations. Now, your job description cannot be same for a baby boomer to a Gen Z. Cannot happen. Your interview process cannot be the same for a baby boomer and a Gen Z. They will disconnect and disengage pretty quickly. Try telling a Gen Z that you're going to go through 5 rounds of interview and they're going to lose it. Yes. Tell a baby boomer that I'm going to give you a psychometric test or this test or that test, you're going to lose them. Right? So you cannot have the same operating model of doing and bringing the talent or evaluating the talent to bring into the organization. You got to think on your feet. Hey, I am looking at bringing fresh graduates. I cannot have a 3-interview process. I got to look at it differently. I got to do some gamification. I got to keep it innovative, and I've got to keep it smaller in terms of the face-to-face interviews that I'm going to have. But whereas for a baby boomer, I'm not going to gamify it because they're not coming in from that perspective. I'm going to keep it very real, behavioral, leadership, blah, 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 panel discussion, presentations, and so on and so forth. So that's what I want to do, is tell every recruiter and talent acquisition is to have an operating model which is not one size fits all. You cannot have that. You've got to go back and innovate and be agile in how you are looking at bringing the talent, right? Now, for sure, right, the companies are definitely looking at the multi-generational hiring, but if you don't have a process for it, then you're going to be left behind. What the Gen Zs are going to do, or the next generations are going to go to those places which are giving that flexibility and the purpose that they want rather than working for you. So yes, this might have worked 10 years back, but it worked for a different generation. You got to think differently right now, and the change needs to happen now.
Exactly. And also regarding the job descriptions that you mentioned, and that's the area, I guess, in recruitment for many years, there has not been any major transformation. So we still go through the lines, bullet points, and every one of us do. So, I mean, especially for not only for Gen Z, but also in general, to make it more attractive, more inclusive as well, we definitely need to think a little bit out of the box, right? So,
100%. And I think we got to start with looking at a job description and redefining, because it is a boring task. And I know people would have created a job description 10 years back and it is the same thing that people are using, but it is definitely boring. But you've got AI to help you do that. You don't have to sit and do it all over again. You can use Textio, you can use so many other tools available. One, it will help you remove the biases. It will help you tailor the job description according to the talent that you're doing. Again, like I said, this is something that you don't need to spend too much time on. Help AI do it, and there are some free AIs who can do it as well. So you just need to use some technology to get that cleansed up in every organization. Exactly. But there are some organizations who are legacy and it's like, I'm not going to change it. I've seen job description where people have signed it saying approved, and I'm like, okay, fair enough, but then how much are we going to use it in for a Gen Z? I don't think you're going to definitely be able to use that. So the change needs to definitely come through very soon, Serap.
Exactly. And by the way, I want to ask, as we are coming at the end of our webinar, I want to ask if you have any questions, please let us know if you have any questions or comments. And regarding these job descriptions, I started to see some video content as well on the job descriptions, which is, I think, really good. I mean, it gives a much better feeling to you, and you can visualize how the work environment is, how is the hiring manager or HR. So it definitely tells more insights, more clue about the work itself and the work environment. Have you seen that as well?
Oh, 100%. The latest that I've seen, I mean, so definitely you can use a tool called 𝗔𝗶𝗃𝗄𝗃 and create that into a video, the job description. But the latest that I have seen that was innovative was you upload a job description, no matter how old and legacy oriented it is, into notebook.lm, free software, notebook.lm. And there will, once you upload it, there'll be 2 podcast bots or AI machine bots who will discuss your job description like a podcast.
Okay.
Amazing. I mean, it just blew my mind, and you can use it for discussing your own resume. You can use that for having that sent to an hiring manager who could listen about the candidate's resume in the car, like a podcast running about, hey, this is the candidate I'm presenting and this is what the candidate. You have to try it, Serap. Try using notebook.lm. Upload it. Notebook.lm.
LM. I wrote also in the chat, so we should check all recruiters.
Yeah. So all you need to do is whatever shape and form your system, your job description, your resume, whatever document you have, just upload and says create, and it'll have 2 beautiful podcast presenters discussing that document. A beautiful innovation right now.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing. And we have one question, Javeed, for you. What key recommendations might you have for recruiters new to the UAE market in terms of candidate reach outs, client relationships, and what else things?
So, Karen, you're looking at recommendations in how to use technology for recruiters who are in the UAE market in terms of the candidate reach out, client relationships, right? So if you have to say, and I am definitely going to be empathizing with you, because the minute we open a requisition in the UAE, we get thousands and thousands within the first 2 hours, right? And desperate application as well. So there is no rhyme and reason for that. But start using some technology, because you will not be able to sift through it. I was helping another friend in the industry here who basically said, Javeed, this is a problem. We hire engineers, data sets, drivers, everything, and then we get a lot of applications that come in. How do we sift and parse through it? Technology. They used a conversational bot which is sitting on their ATS, which will call every candidate, doesn't matter, in any language you want it to call it. It can do Arabic, Spanish, English, Hindi, in whatever.
Yeah.
And it'll screen the candidate, stack rank the candidate, and then give you the top 5. So that is one way of looking at it. Now take that data, give it to your hiring manager and says, I have got the AI to screen it. I've also done my homework on it. These are your 5 best candidates for the job role, and then you go ahead. But I would definitely say that problem is not going to be able to manually fix it. You've got to bring in some technology to help that, Karen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks, Jaran, for the questions. Thanks, Javeed. I mean, I think it was really great. I mean, we came to the end quickly. Time is flying. Do you have any last suggestions, Javeed, for the recruiters, talent acquisition leaders?
Oh, 100%. My closing statements is, if you want to hire faster or hire better and build powered strategies, then you've got to have technology and AI in your strategy and your process. Don't leave that as, oh, we will think about it later. And I think that is how your strategies are going to come to life. And make sure that you don't have one size fits all. You've got to have, like, I at one point of time used to have 4 different operating models for 4 different business units in an organization I worked for. So it can't be that I'll take one process and fix everything. And look at AI and technology as more as your friend and your enhancer, and not as an enemy. They are actually here to help you, and they're doing a fantastic for people who are using it. So those are going to be some of my closing comments, Sarah.
Great, Javeed. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the session. Thank you for your sharing expertise, also great examples, by the way, and I took some notes. And thanks to everyone joining and listening to us. Let's continue our discussion and conversation on LinkedIn. So have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.